What's up guys, it's Bastian here coming at you with another Transformers TCG deck profile, and today we are looking at my Blitzwing Tanks deck. Really excited to bring you guys this particular deck profile. I've been working on this for a long time. I wanted to make tanks work, I also wanted to make Blitzwing work, and currently this is the best thing I could cobble together from the cards that are available from sets 1 to 5. So the first thing is that I cannot show you guys the master converter stratagem because I don't have it printed, I don't have a copy of it, so this is a placeholder to it. If you actually guys go through the stars, we've got 6 stars on Skytread Tank, 6 stars on Demolisher, 11 stars on Blitzwing, which leaves us with 2 stars. So one of them is the master converter, which makes sure that Blitzwing is always both a tank and a plane. And we also have Villainous Spotlight, which allows us to have 2 extra orange cards with stars in the deck. So we're expanding as much as we can. So with the stratagems out of the way, again, just a master converter and a Villainous Spotlight. Yes, this is kind of like just printed out. Anything that doesn't go into the deck, to be fair, I think it's okay to have just printed. But starting with the lineup, I want to go through Skytread. Nothing special. We are not using the other part, the plane part, to complete the full Skytread. I was just looking for the best 6-star, 6 or below star tank to make this deck work. And Skytread Tank is the best with that 383. It's okay. That 3 defense is actually pretty good, to be honest. All that matters to us is that it's a tank, and the fact that we don't have to worry about flipping Skytread Tank because we can't. So Skytread Tank, we don't have to worry about flipping. What we're going to be flipping between is literally the 2 modes of the 2 alt modes of Blitzwing, and we are going to be frequently flipping Demolisher. I don't think Demolisher needs much introduction to long-time players. It's a fantastic tank. And the 373 lineup doesn't look like much. However, with the amount of defense we're going to give to these guys, is going to be very difficult to be dealt with. Not only that, early game, we are obviously looking at starting with Demolisher, flipping him first, attacking with him first. He actually flips cards, extra battle cards, equal to his defense. So Demolisher, when he swings, like in his boat mode, he's immediately flipping 6 battle cards, 2 for normal and then 4 for his defense. Realistically, Demolisher is going to flipping with a little bit of a lucky flip if you get a white one, and the extra, normally Demolisher is going to have another 3 defense, so you could be flipping 9, 10, 11 cards easily with Demolisher when he goes swinging. So he's a key character, but he's also important to get us extra card draw, because when you flip back to his alt mode, you draw cards for each of your other tanks in play, which is hopefully going to be Skytread and Blitzwing. So you kind of want to, early game, focus on flipping Demolisher, get that extra card advantage, get that big hit in early game. And then of course we have Blitzwing, who is capable of drawing the attention away from Demolisher if need be, or perhaps give the attention to Skytread, because we don't really mind losing Skytread. But the fact that Blitzwing can give us either Brave or Stealth is really useful. And again, because this is supposed to be Master Converter, either alt modes of Blitzwing will be both a tank and a plane. And of course, you know where I'm going with this 2-pronged attack is in the deck, of course. The bot mode of Blitzwing we don't use at all, so don't worry about flipping there. This deck is not designed at all to try to hit an orange and a blue and then to flip it back. It's literally just whatever is more convenient. If Blitzwing has the high defense and can swallow a big hit, then absolutely have the Brave up. If you swung with Skytread and then you don't want Blitzwing to be hidden, leave him in Stealth. As long as we it does need a lot of kind of understanding what you're playing against, so you're not going to lose your bots early enough. but again, we're trying to give them a lot of defense, and that's what we're going to be focusing on with our battle cards. So naturally, when we talk about a tank deck, the first thing that you need to look at is Hunker Down. That's the main reason why you would want to run a tank deck, is because Hunker Down is just chef's kiss. It's so good. Flip each of your characters from bot mode to tank mode. Then for each of your tanks that isn't upgraded with an armor, put an armor on it from your scrap pile. Now, you might not always be using Hunker Down, but particularly early game, if you see one, it is going to be amazing to play it. And we do have quite a lot of armors that are discarded, they're scrapped after a use or two, so it will always be nice to be able to suit up all our guys with an armor if some of them doesn't have it, especially for Demolisher. If he has any one of the extra 3 defense armors, he's flipping 9. If you flip into another white, then you're looking at flipping 10-11 cards. So that's fantastic. Hunker Down is our main card, one of the main actions for the deck. Not the end-all be-all, but it is a very important part of our deck, for sure. Sorry guys, I can't really do much with that glare. That is just the light setup here. That's the best I can do there. So Hunker Down, one of the main cards. Okay, moving on. I've already talked about why we've got Blitzwing. It is two-pronged attack. So if you invest 12 stars into Blitzwing and the stratagem, of course, then you are going to run two-pronged attack. Two-pronged attack is not a good card unless you got this particular setup, because if you choose one of your characters, if it's a tank, your opponent chooses 2 cards from their hand and scraps them. If it's a plane, your opponent chooses one of their characters and does 2 damage. They're both good, but neither of them are exactly game breaking. However, if you get your opponent to scrap 2 cards from their hand and deal 2 damage to one of their characters, then two-pronged attack becomes absolutely mind-blowing. The value is just so good, and you could almost say that, well, it's actually worth that extra stratagem to allow us to play two-pronged attack at its full potential. You have to defend Blitzwing though, because once Blitzwing is gone, you can only use it, but you can still use it obviously for the 2-card scrap, which is still good. I'd rather be left with that than the chance to damage. So you know, it's still I think better in a tank deck than in a plane deck. And then, so what are we spending those 2 stars that we get from our Villainous Spotlight? Well, I'm currently trying out Pincer Movement, 2 copies of. It does give us a nice little orange and a blue pip. Not that this is a blue pip deck. We have this is about it. The 3 Hunker Downs, the 2 Pincer Movements. If I wanted to go full in on Blitzwing, then obviously that would also be good for this bot side, but we don't have anything to plan, anything to put cards on the top of our deck. If we did, then obviously I would play Pincer Movement if it was in my hand, get that nice little Blitzwing action off, draw a card, and then flip him back to one of his modes, but we're not going to do that. However, Pincer Movement is fantastic if we want to take something out, particularly again early game, if we have our guys sort of suited up, kitted up, and we want to get some massive amounts of damage in, and then leave Blitzwing on a Brave, so they would still have to swing into Blitzwing. That's fantastic. Then we can protect Demolisher. We can still get a massive amount of a hit in with Pincer Movement. So normally you're going to be using these two to attack together. What are we going to use then with Hunker Down? What are our main armors? Well, first of all, we're going to start with the worst one, Ghost Shield. Ghost Shield, quote unquote, only gives us 3 defense, which is still fantastic. It is really good. I mean, if you look at our guys, Demolisher becomes 6 defense, Skytrad becomes 6 defense, Blitzwing is still a 5 defense if he's in Alt 1 with the Brave. So this is really good, and we can also pitch cards away if our opponent tries to remove Ghost Shield, and we can fill up the scrap pile, fueling Hunker Down with Ghost Shield's second effect, the fact that you can scrap an armor from your hand instead of removing Ghost Shield from the unit itself. So that's fantastic. That's brilliant. This is 1. Okay, Ghost Shield. Now, of course, number 2, the best armor for tanks, composite armor. I absolutely love this card. Literally, the fact that you got Hunker Down and composite armor doable in the deck kind of makes me also want to run tanks. And the two-pronged attack, of course, I do love the two-pronged attacks, Blitzwing combo, and I always wanted to make that a thing. Composite armor. When the upgraded character defends, scrap this card after the battle. Then if you flipped at least 1 black, that battle do wonders to the attacker. Now imagine this beast on Demolisher. You put it on Demolisher, then you transform Demolisher. You're swinging in for you already get the 1 extra attack. Then you're flipping 7 extra cards for your attack because you got 7 defense now. And then when your opponent, you still keep this whilst Demolisher is then defending. Okay, so that's absolutely just mind-blowing. But I'll show you the trick as well, how we're going to make sure that the composite armors last even longer, because we got attack for that. So drum roll. But that's the secret sauce of this deck, if you like it. And then there is a good chance that we can flip blacks because we got quite a few blacks. So the composite armor are 3 blacks, 6, 9. We got 9, 10. We actually have 10 black pips in the deck, so that's 1 in 4 cards a chance. There's a 25% chance for every flip to be a black flip, which is going to give us a good chance. So 25%, 2 flips you get, that's not too bad. You might just get a 1 damage to the attacker, and it will always make your opponent think if their character just happens to be on that 1 damage, are they going to risk it or not? So 3 Ghost Shield, 3 composite armor, and then 3 Crystal of Power, because it is an armor, ladies and gents. And yes, you're thinking when the upgraded character battles, grab this card after the battle. It is not as good an armor as Ghost Shield or composite armor, and that gives us +2. But even that, if you think about Demolisher again, if Demolisher swings, you are swinging for 3, and you get an extra 6 flips of Demolisher if he has Crystal of Power. And again, the same way how we can invite composite armor to stay a little bit longer, we can use that exact same tech to keep Crystal of Power a little bit longer on our character, on our Demolisher, or well, ideally any of the guys, but Demolisher is a key figure in trying to get a lot of damage through. And then ever since it's been printed, Fusion Borer needs to be a 3 of in any deck. I know it's banned if you play with the fan-made sets, but I'm sticking to sets 1 to 5, so this is absolutely no holds barred. Fusion Borer, +3 attack, Pierce 3, you're guaranteed a 3 damage, and after the upgraded character attacks, scrap this card after the battle. So we got 9 upgrades here, 3 armor, 3 weapon armor, 3 weapon, that all would like to see some way of staying a little bit longer than usual. And that is where, ladies and gents, we are using 3 copies of Backup Bag. Yes, this is the secret sauce of the deck. Why? Well, first of all, it's a utility. So you can have your weapons, you can have your armors on your units, doesn't matter. If one of your cards will cause a weapon or armor to be scrapped from the upgraded character, scrap this card instead. And that means that if the card in itself would scrap itself if it was a weapon or an armor, which these are, you can instead scrap Backup Bag. How brilliant is that? Imagine getting another extra turn out of composite armor, another extra defense as well from composite armor, or getting 2 attacks of Fusion Borer because you can keep it around with the Backup Bag. Maybe Fusion Borer is not the best example, but certainly for composite armor, Crystal of Power, that actually gives us extra defense, is really good, because they have staying power, they have better staying power, and of course your opponent, well, yes, they might be thinking, okay, well, I'm just going to remove it. Fine, remove it. Well, we got Hunker Down, so we can keep bringing them back. But the really important thing with Backup Bag is that we are going to use these and instead of them triggering their own removal, backup bag is going to be lost, and so your opponent will still have to spend their valuable vaporize or remming, what's it called, remming speed, to get rid of one of your big utilities. And because it is a green pip, you're almost always going to have it. And we do have plenty of cards that we can spend to get our greens in, like additional armors that we can't play. We can pitch them for hunker down. Fantastic to have these green cards in the deck. So really at the heart of the deck, we not only have hunker down and two-pronged attack, we have all these upgrades that we can keep on our units longer with backup bag, and that is just kind of bringing it together so nicely. I love that so much. We also have one copy of Bashing Shield. Again, it's a green armor, so we can get it. We can scrap an enemy armor. We certainly don't want to have to deal with things like Force Field. This deck doesn't have Force Field in the main deck. We do have it in the side deck. I will show you the side deck at the end of the video. But we do have one Bashing Shield because we don't want to have to deal with anything like Force Field. Okay, moving on. Now, we are going to have our units with massive defensive capabilities. Potentially, the backup bag, if it triggers, what are you going to play next? Well, you hopefully can play Crushing Threads to ensure that the upgraded character has Pierce equal to its defense, which actually works out. Vanilla, for our guys, works out pretty well for Skytread, because that means Skytread is already guaranteed that 3 damage. Blitzwing guaranteed 2 out of that 3. Or maybe, in plain mode, maybe not as good, but if you whack any one of the shields, any one of the armor on Blitzwing, is going to be absolutely crushing through. And then Demolisher, if for any reason you can't flip him and you have to swing in alt mode, then you're guaranteed that 3 damage again. So Crushing Threads, I really, really, really wish it was a green card, but it would just be too OP. So we have to have Crushing Threads. It's just such a good potential for a massive Pierce output. Imagine Demolisher flipping 7 cards, and you got a guaranteed 7 Pierce on Demolisher when he's swinging with a composite armor on him. That is just disgusting, absolutely disgusting. So a good way to get extra cards in our hands, and also to get cards out of our hands and still allow us an extra upgrade, we are running 2 copies of Swindled. Absolutely made for this deck. Draw 2 cards, scrap 2 cards from your hand. If you began the game with only Decepticon characters, you may play an upgrade. How beautiful is that? You are quite potentially capable of just getting that missing backup bag, or you probably are going to have the backup bag in your hand. You just get that Crystal of Power, composite armor, and it allows you to play both the backup bag and then the armor to make sure that you got that sticking power. You can't do it with Ghost Shield. Ghost Shield is the greatest combo with Hunker Down. Ghost Shield can only be played if it replaces an already existing armor. However, Hunker Down puts an armor on the characters from your scrap pile, so it actually sidewinds the Ghost Shield requirement, because you're not playing Ghost Shield, you put in Ghost Shield, which is absolutely brilliant. That's how you normally want to play Ghost Shield. Really good. Discard it, bring it back with Hunker Down. Fantastic. Make sure you play composite armors, your Crystal of Powers, instead of Ghost Shield. Or maybe replace a Bashing Shield. That can be good to bring it back to circulation. So 2 copies of Swindled. I kind of think maybe 3 could also be good, but 2 is what we're currently sitting on. And also another great way to get extra cards in your hand, but also get rid of armor that you can't play in the turn. Backup plan. Imagine you just completely get rid of the armors in your hand, draw into that Hunker Down. Next turn, you're going to hunker down, baby. You're going to ensure that all your guys have their armors nice and shiny, ready to swing. So beautiful. 2 backup plan, 2 Swindle. That's the extra draw card manipulation besides Demolisher's flip. The rest is fairly standard. I do run 2 copies of Ramming Speed because it is an orange deck. Naturally, we wanna always deal extra damage, but we are here for the staying power. So ramming speed 2 off, and I always run disassemble. I don't like smelt. I don't want to give my opponent the chance to choose. I'd rather give them an extra card, to be honest, but I can guarantee that I'm removing the weapon or the armor that I want to get rid of. So all in all, we are running a bashing shield, a disassemble, 2 ramming speeds, 4 removal, and 2 of them being obviously green is fairly good. And then the usual stuff, 3 improvised shield, 3 Peace Through Tyranny. Peace Through Tyranny you can use with both Skytread and Demolisher, or if you want to get, you can use it with all 3 characters. We all know it's kind of like a finisher. If it does win you the game, fantastic. But we got pincer movement kind of doubling up on what we can also achieve with PTT. And then improvised shield, it is an armor. It can be useful to replace it with Ghost Shield, worst case scenario. But realistically, what these cards are used for, probably 9 times out of 10, is pitching it for a green card to ensure that you got that backup bag in your hand, or the disassemble, or that bashing shield. That's what we're going to be using in 9 times out of 10. Keep these in the circulation because obviously they're double oranges, and that's what they really matter for. So this is the main deck. Full in balls deep, just beautiful tank stuff, and the spice with the backup bag. I am just so glad that that card was printed. It's like one of those cards you got in your binder, just sits there and you think like, what can I use this for? And then slowly but surely the idea came together. Anyway, side deck time. Let's look at our side deck. So for a side deck, we're starting with a copy of Enforcement Batons. We are not normally necessarily going to be looking at scrapping too many enemy weapons, but there could be 1 or 2 that, if it doesn't get rid of itself as you attack, so like grenade launcher, fusion borer, power punch, those are the usual ones that there's no point to have weapon removal against, because your opponent's going to attach it, swing most of the time, and that's it, they're gone. Very rarely are they going to pre-attach and then swing with something else, because then obviously they are leaving that fair game for a removal with Enforcement Batons. But I do want to have an additional weapon and a weapon removal as well in the form of batons, but it's completely interchangeable. What we are definitely defending heavy against is Pierce. So if you do come up against a Pierce deck, we immediately have 3 stable cover to bring in. When one of your character defends, you reveal it, and that character gets +1 defense until the end of the turn, and the attacker can't use Pierce this battle. Now 3 is not enough. 3 is not enough, but it's a good start. So obviously we do run point defense system as well. The fact that it is an armor is brilliant for us, because it perfectly fits into the profile already. You can take something out like, for example, the fusion borer. Just double down, make sure that you are protected against Pierce as much as you can. It doesn't completely get rid of Pierce, but reducing that by 2 is already really important, because that's going to be those little chit damages that will take you down over the course of a few turns. And of course, the best Pierce protection, force field, and just generally good protection. We got 3 copies of force field, but we're not starting with it because the deck is particularly geared around having high defense, and most of the time that's probably going to be enough as well to keep us in the game and then give us that our own high Pierce output. But the entire side deck is purely dedicated to give us a chance against Pierce, and these are pretty much the only cards that will give you that. So there we go, guys. This is my Blitzwing tech tank tech demo, if you like it, guys. If you do have a copy of Master Converter, please let me know. I live in the UK, so we can work something out, but I do need a copy of that. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoy my previous Transformers videos as well. Please make sure you subscribe, leave a massive like if you like this kind of stuff, and leave a comment below. Let me know what your point of view is. Let me know what your thoughts are about this. I think amazing tank deck, but let me know what you think. Peace. Peace out, YouTube. Busting and signing out.